there, I absolutely love easy, delicious dinner ideas. So today I will be sharing 5 new dinners with you that you could make in just one sheet pan in your oven. Plus, all of these dinners today only have about 5 ingredients in them. They're so easy, but so good. Let's get to my kitchen and let's start cooking. To kick us off today, we are making this Parmesan crusted chicken. So into this bowl, I'm adding in a half a cup of Italian-style panko breadcrumbs, next a half a cup of Parmesan cheese, and 2 tablespoons of melted butter. Give this a stir to coat the butter in the panko and the Parmesan cheese. Now set this mixture to the side. I have a big sheet pan right here, or you could use an even larger one or a smaller one if you want to double this recipe or half it. I did spray the sheet pan with nonstick spray, or you could use parchment paper or foil. To one side of the sheet pan, I added a pound of trimmed green beans. To the other side, I'm adding a pound and a half of red potatoes. I did cut those potatoes into like very small pieces just so they cook evenly. Then I drizzled a tablespoon of olive oil on the top and then seasoned them with a dash of salt and pepper. Give it a little stir to coat the seasonings and the oil and the vegetables. Now to the center of the sheet pan, I'm adding 2 large chicken breasts. I'll season the chicken with a dash of salt and pepper. Then over the chicken, I'm going to sprinkle that panko Parmesan mixture that we made up all over the top. And then this is going to bake in a preheated oven to 375 degrees for about 30 to 35 minutes, or until the chicken's cooked through, the veggies are tender, and the panko is nice and crispy on the top. Once you make this dinner once, you just won't stop making it just because that chicken is cooked so perfectly, and the panko mixture on the top adds like the right amount of crispiness and flavor. It really is so good, and those veggies are nice and tender. Now we're getting started on these sheet pan fajitas, so I'm going to cut up my veggies first. I sliced 1 red onion, a red bell pepper, and a yellow bell pepper over to my sheet pan. I do have it lined with aluminum foil. I'm adding those vegetables right onto my sheet pan now. Then I'm going to add on 1 pound of chicken tenderloins, or you could use chicken breasts that you cut into thin strips, whatever you prefer. Next, I'm adding on 2 tablespoons of olive oil along with a packet of fajita seasoning. The main difference between like fajita seasoning and taco seasoning is taco seasoning has more chili powder and oregano, while fajita seasoning has more cumin and kind of has more of like a citrusy taste. But I gave this a really good stir, and then I baked this in a preheated oven to 425 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes, or until the chicken was cooked through. We like to serve our fajita chicken and vegetables in crispy little tortillas, and we love squeezing like lime juice on the top of them. It just makes them taste extra good. I also like to top mine with a little bit of shredded lettuce, shredded cheese, sour cream, and avocado, but top yours with anything that you have on hand. Now we're making this sausage and peppers, so onto my cutting board I am going to slice a 14-ounce package of kielbasa sausage into half moons. Next I'm slicing a yellow onion along with 1 red bell pepper and an orange bell pepper. I do want to let you know, if you want to use little golden potatoes for this recipe, you can. I just didn't, so I just skipped the potatoes, but if you want to add potatoes to this, you certainly can. Add the sausage and veggies onto your sheet pan. Drizzle 2 tablespoons of olive oil on the top, then season this with a half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper, a teaspoon of onion powder, garlic powder, and paprika, or really any seasonings that you have in your cabinet. Give this a stir and bake this in a preheated oven to 425 degrees for about 30 to 35 minutes. This is a great dinner when you don't really know what you're going to make for dinner. Also, you could make this with frozen bell peppers and onions. I know at my grocery store they sell those bags of like frozen bell peppers and onions, so that makes it even easier if you want to just throw one of those frozen bags onto your sheet pan. This dinner's great. Now we are making this sheet pan quesadilla, so over to the pan on my stove, I'm adding a pound of ground beef just to break that ground beef up and cook it through. If you don't care for ground beef, you could always use like ground chicken or ground turkey or any meat substitute. This recipe is actually in the sheet pan section of my cookbook. It is on page 84, and if you didn't know, I recently came out with my first ever cookbook, and it has 8 sections and over 100 recipes, and the sections are ranging from like easy breakfast, side dishes, extra quick dinners, desserts, and so much more. I have my cookbook linked below this video for you if you haven't gotten one yet, but now that my ground beef is cooked through, I added in 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning and a half a cup of water. Give this a stir and let this simmer on your stove for a couple of minutes. After that time is up, add in 1 drained and rinsed can of black beans, or really any beans would work, and 1/4 cup of salsa. You could also add in a can of corn that's drained if you'd like. Give this a stir and then remove it from the heat. Now heading over to my sheet pan, I'm spraying it with plenty of oil spray. You could use any type of oil spray you like. Then use 6 burrito-sized tortillas and kind of slightly overlap them and place them onto your sheet pan. And then the last tortilla, make sure you place in the center so nothing falls out. Sprinkle 1 cup of Mexican-style cheese over the tortillas. Then sprinkle that taco meat mixture over the cheese. You could also add on like sauteed vegetables at this point, or really add anything you'd like into your quesadilla. Sprinkle another cup of Mexican style cheese over the top, and then place another tortilla in the center of your quesadilla. Fold the edges in, and then spray the top of your quesadilla with more oil spray so it gets crispy. Place a second sheet pan over the top of your quesadilla and bake this in a preheated oven to 425 degrees for 20 minutes. Remove the second sheet pan, then broil it for 1 to 2 minutes so it gets really crispy. The fun part about these quesadillas is you could top them with anything that you'd like. Also, you could fill them with anything that you like. So they are so adaptable. You can make them your own so easily. I have changed these quesadillas up so many different times for my family based on what we have on hand. Now we're making these mozzarella stuffed mini meatloafs. So I have about 1.5 pounds of little golden potatoes right here. I'm going to cut them in small bite-sized pieces and I'll set them to the side. If you have my cookbook, you will actually find this recipe on page 92, and I'm just making a variation of it today. Into this bowl, I'm adding in 1 pound of ground beef along with a tablespoon of ketchup and 1/3 cup of Italian-style breadcrumbs. And then for the seasonings, I'm using about 1 teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of pepper, and 1 teaspoon of paprika. Just mash up the ground beef and combine all of these ingredients together. You could use a meat masher or your hands. Now I have my sheet pan right here. I'm using parchment paper just for easy cleanup. Just add those potatoes right onto your sheet pan and then drizzle about 2 tablespoons of olive oil on the top. For the seasonings, I'm seasoning the potatoes with 1 teaspoon of pepper, salt, onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, and oregano, but use any seasonings that you like. Give this a stir to coat the potatoes in the oil and seasonings. Now we are going to make our mini meatloafs. So I have a package of mozzarella string cheese sticks right here, or you could use a block of cheese or pre-shredded mozzarella cheese. I just cut the cheese sticks in half just because we're making mini meatloafs. So now I have our meatloaf mixture right here. Grab a little bit of that mixture and then place a cheese stick in the center, and you want to make sure the cheese stick is completely covered in the meatloaf mixture just so the cheese doesn't like spill out a bunch while it is baking. Repeat this for all of your meat mixture. Brush the tops of the mini meatloafs with a little bit of ketchup. This is going to bake in a preheated oven to 400 degrees for about 30 minutes or until the ground beef is completely cooked through. If you've never tried mini meatloafs like this on a sheet pan, you really need to. And if you don't want to add the mozzarella cheese in the middle, you don't have to add the cheese. These are still good without the cheese, but those potatoes are so tender. This meatloaf is absolutely delicious. I would really love to have you over here, so make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.